Before I get started, I'd just like to thank the audience who are here. If you could please pan the audience. And also thank you to the viewers who are watching this video. Have you ever felt like you were awake and asleep at the same time? Did you ever feel that when you woke up, you could not move your body and felt that there was something sitting on your chest? This is actually a very common sleep disorder known as sleep paralysis. When scientists could not explain what was happening, many people believed that they were being haunted or even possessed by demons. As more studies were done over the years, it was realized that there are many simple reasons as to why sleep paralysis occurs. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the different cultural superstitions and the actual scientific truth about sleep paralysis. Before sleep paralysis was studied and understood, cultures around the world came up with superstitious and paranormal explanations as to what was happening to those who suffered from it. In Western history of sleep paralysis, that goes back to 300 years during the witch trials in 1692. The victims of sleep paralysis accused the witches of visiting them while they were sleeping and actually causing them not to move or be paralyzed while they were sleeping and sitting on their chest. They also said that these witches took on the forms of different kind of creatures or even shadow figures. Also, different cultures from around the world. In Japan, victims of sleep paralysis also believed that they were Buddhist monks who were using magic to paralyze the victims, and also it felt like there was almost like a metal rope being tied around the neck. Now, in Newfoundland, victims of sleep paralysis thought that they were being visited by an old hag, where she would just come and visit them and basically paralyze them and also sit on their chest. And in the Caribbean, people actually believed that it was unbaptized babies who were coming back and actually strangling people while they were sleeping. Now, the most common belief about sleep paralysis is that people are either being haunted by ghosts or actually possessed by demons. However, there are even accounts that sleep paralysis has to do with being abducted by aliens. In 2002, a study was done that revealed 60% of people who said that they were abducted by aliens said that they were actually asleep while this occurred. And what they accounted was that they saw 3 figures standing at the foot of their bed or saw like lights coming in from the window. And some people actually claimed that they were being lifted up from their bed while they were being abducted, all while being slightly awake but slightly asleep at the same time. So what is it actually about sleep paralysis that caused so many different superstitions? The most common symptoms of sleep paralysis usually occur with people who have they're having nightmares, and what they feel usually is when they wake up, they actually feel that they're still kind of dreaming, but at the same time they are awake. They just feel that they can't move their body, and most of the time they also feel that a tightness in their chest or like there's a weight on their chest, and they have a very hard time breathing. I actually myself suffered from sleep paralysis for a long time. I had many of the common symptoms of sleep paralysis. When I was little, I remember I would actually wake up and I wouldn't be able to move my body, but I would know that I was awake. And I actually saw the hallucinations that many other people claim to have seen, where I would see a shadow figure come into my room and just stand at my bedside and stare at me for a while. So it was pretty scary. Now, when people actually think of sleep paralysis, the most common depiction that they see is a painting done by Henry Fuseli in 1781 titled The Nightmare. Now, in this painting, you can kind of see a woman draped over her bed, and there's a demon sitting on her chest, which would stand for the symptom of not being able to breathe. And also, you can kind of see in the background, there's kind of this very scary looking horse. And he was known to be the hallucinations that many people saw, or like the projections of the nightmare coming into real life. I'm going to talk to you now about what actually happens, the chemicals in the body when sleep paralysis occurs. In her article, Cheyenne titled Situational Factors Affecting Sleep Paralysis. She did studies where they studied people who suffered from sleep paralysis, and they actually found that most of the time sufferers were actually sleeping on their backs. So that was actually a common theme among people who suffer from sleep paralysis, is that people who sleep on their back. And they also found that it mostly occurred either when people were falling asleep or also just waking up. Now, what actually happens in the brain is not known too well, but there are some studies being done at the University of Toronto where they're finding that there are actually two neurotransmitters connected to sleep paralysis. They are known as GABA A and GABA B, which deal with glycine. Now, in their studies, they took patients who suffered from sleep paralysis, and they actually switched off those neurotransmitters, and they actually found that people suffered a lot less from the sleep paralysis. So it's believed that those two neurotransmitters have a lot to do with sleep paralysis. It's very hard for some people to deal with sleep paralysis, so doctors often tell them that people can actually control their dreams or turn the sleep paralysis into lucid dreams. Now, lucid dreams are dreams that you can actually control yourself. You can create the setting, create characters, pretty much do whatever you want in the dream. So when people are suffering from sleep paralysis, there are actually very simple steps that they can do to actually turn this nightmarish sleep paralysis into a pleasant lucid dream. The first step is when you actually realize that you're awake but unable to move, is to focus on your breathing, since a lot of people have that hard time breathing and sitting on their chest feeling. You actually have to control your breathing, take deep breaths in and out. And after you've focused on your breathing, you then have to kind of focus on your body and being able to move it. Now, in lucid dreams, one of the very first steps at becoming aware that you're dreaming is looking down at your hands. Once you're looking down at your hands, it's said that you know, when you have that awareness that you're dreaming, that is where you're able to create what you want in your dream. So once you're able to look down at your hands, then you are also able to control the hallucinations that you're seeing. You can turn them into something that you would rather see than shadow figures or aliens or whatever. And it can be a very helpful treatment for people who suffer sleep paralysis. Now, sleep paralysis has inspired many superstitions and nightmarish art for many years. It can be a very scary experience if you aren't aware of what is actually occurring. With the help of different studies, science has been able to put those superstitions to rest and even teach people how to switch these terrifying hallucinations into creative lucid dreams.